Good evening and welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and this evening I have a special treat for us. We have Mary Johnson Grant. She is an author, storyteller, retired teacher. She is also a workshop presenter. She is a mother of two, and she is a past president of the Detroit Association of Black Storytellers. And tonight, guys, we're going to be talking about storytelling. We're going to talk about being an author, being a storyteller, and how storytelling helps us as educators. Good evening, Mary. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great. And thank you for your nice welcome. Yes.
Well, thank you for being here. So without further ado, Mary, tell us, who is Mary Johnson Grant as an author, as a retired teacher, workshop presenter, and past president of Detroit Black Association of Storytellers?
Yeah. Well, first, I'll just tell you, I was an educator for Detroit Public Schools, working in the classroom and also an administrator. While in the classroom, there were a lot of challenges, as you probably know. And so I kept wondering, how can I help? And then they reorganized the class. So when they reorganized, they put me in a class of, they said, you could take it, 24 students. You can take it. I said, take it? What are they saying? Well, they had put all the special ed kids in one room and they put me in there. And I thought, I never had any training in special ed. I wasn't sure what I was doing. I kept asking the parents for help. Later on, I found out something. The parents was having trouble too. So I had to figure a way out. I sat in my chair. I said, how in the world did I learn to read? I had to teach these children. I prayed and asked God, help me out. Lord, I can't teach these children to read. And I was just talking about them terribly. I feel bad about that. So from that, I wrote my first book. My daddy taught me to read. True story. Because when I sat down, after having criticized my parents, I found that my daddy had to teach me to read. And you say, how did he teach you to read? Well, he taught me to read by going over my lessons Monday through Friday in front of a stove in the basement. And this story I think it's just the greatest story ever. What is my story? My daddy taught me to read. And then at the end of the story, my daddy had to sign a note for school. And he put a big X on it. And I said, Daddy, why you put the X on it? I was trying to figure out why did he write his name? Why are you in such a big hurry? But I found out my daddy did not know how to read.
Wow.
And he couldn't read, but he taught me to read. And because I learned to read, they gave me a special award at the program. And I asked, could I speak on the microphone? And I said, thank you, Daddy, for teaching me to read. And then after I wrote that one, I wrote Floyd B's Pond about my brother and his fish pond we had in the backyard. I love writing that too. I went to a workshop and they asked us, what would you like, to do, right? What is some of the things your experiences? And I wrote down Floyd B's Pond and I started thinking about when my brother had the fish pond experience and how he had put together a science fair project. Then my special jar, which is me running home from school because a girl was going to beat me up. So I ran home from school and found a special insect. And you have to get the book to know the rest. Then I was the youngest of 7 children, and I hate to go to bed. So I wrote Shadows on Sunday. And then during COVID, I was kind of going crazy. I had done a workshop in Birmingham, Alabama, and on the Great Migration. So I had interviewed my family, all of them, including Mr. White, who passed away.
Okay.
He told me the story of my family moving from Jackson, Mississippi to Dayton, Ohio. And what an experience it was, and how we rode on the train and I was 11 months old. There I am right there, the picture of a little girl baby. I was 11 months old and I had to go. We all sat on the train in the back. We had to sit in the back of the train and use the colored restrooms. And I don't remember it, but they told me everybody had an experience that they shared with me. And then we got to Paducah, Kentucky. That's what they really fascinated me. When we got to Paducah, Kentucky, the train whistle blew. And that's the Mason-Dixon line. And when we got there, we moved up to the front of the bus. I mean, the front of the train, because we said, we's free now. We's in the north. They said on the train. And they moved up from the back to the front of the train because my daddy moved north to have a bright future for his kids and his family. So that's moving north, the Johnson family in the Great Migration. But it's quite an exciting experience writing these books because I never thought I would write a book. That wasn't something, you know, how you think of everything you want to do. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do, I'm going to do that. But I never thought about writing a book.
Wow.
It's been a good experience.
Wonderful. So, Mary, you are an amazing storyteller. And just listening to you talk about the journey of writing your books, it was an entire story. Talk to us about what makes someone a good storyteller. And you talked about COVID and the pandemic. How has that impacted storytelling, especially for kids?
Well, that's a big question. Well, first of all, let me go back to my books and why I became a storyteller and what I was telling my daddy taught me to read. And a lady came up and she said, "You keep telling that story, somebody gonna steal it." I said, "What?" I just love, because when you tell stories, oftentimes you tell your personal stories, you know. And so I was telling the story and the lady came up and told me that. And so I said, well, let me write this down. So I started taking notes. Every day I had a journal and I would write in my journal everything that I thought about my daddy and the kinds of things that we did and the little songs that we would sing. Because it's important when you tell a story, you interact with your audience. And when I tell it to children, most of the time they don't know this song, Miss Mary Mack and Skip to My Lou, My Darling, those songs we used to sing. And then I have poems in there because I'm from Dayton, Ohio. I have a poem in there by Paul Laurence Dunbar, A Tiny Little Seedling. Talks about growing up and how you grow and grow and grow and how important it is for you to understand how important learning is. Then I have another poem in there. So I tried to put things in the story that I had when I was a kid that encouraged me, like poetry, you know, and songs, reading songs. And so I tried to put those things in my stories, because when you're telling a story, you generally interact with your audience. And that's one of the things that helps them remember. Because sometimes you'll go hear a story, you don't, what is this? What happened? You don't remember. But oftentimes when you interact or when you relate to your audience, they tend to remember. I like your story about your daddy. And they tell me things like, I didn't know, my daddy didn't know how to read either. And one lady shared a story about her daddy would read the newspaper upside down.
Oh, wow.
She didn't, at first she didn't realize what was going on when she was younger. But she said, my daddy couldn't read. And I thought, in the South, you know how those things are in the South. Oftentimes people, African-American people, were not educated because of long distances and racial injustices. So it was, it's an experience telling a story. Yeah.
And how has COVID impacted that, or the pandemic?
COVID has turned, I wrote a book during COVID because I was alone here. I live in a condo and I would be all by myself. And I kind of went crazy because the walls were kind of coming in. Because you couldn't go anywhere. And I went out walking. Nobody was on the street. Nobody was, just maybe I see one person walking. So I began to review my stories and try to get my mind off of what was going on. So the impact for me was that I started pulling out my books and reading poetry and writing poems. I wrote 3 poems, because I said, I can't write. You know how people say, I can't do that. I can't write poems. And so I wrote 3 poems, Black Lives Matter, And I performed those poems down by the water building.
Okay.
And told a story down there about Ogaluso. So in terms of the pandemic, it helped me and encouraged me. It made me realize you have to believe in yourself, stay strong to what you believe, and pray. And that's what encouraged me in this journey of writing stories.
That is very important. Will you read an excerpt from one of your books for us? Pick which one you would like.
Then, oh shoot. In the Shadows on Sunday, I was the youngest. So I did not want to go to bed. As I told you. And I saw shadows, and so I'd make a lot of noise, stomping my feet for a while until they reprimanded me. So on Sunday night, my sisters followed me to the bedroom and turned off the lights. "Oh, can you leave the lights on, please?" I asked. Nancy said, "No, you'll sleep better with the lights off." Well, I went into my room and I laid down. I got up from the bed and opened on the chifforobe. And that's a French word. And the people who were reading my story told me, don't put chifforobe in your book because children don't know what chifforobe is, but I put it in there anyway.
They'll figure it out.
Right, because I'm a self-published person, self-published. And so I tossed and I turned as I waited to see another figure on the wall. And so all of a sudden, I've covered my feet, I've tucked in the sheet, but I just can't sleep. I even counted sheep, but I had to blink. And what did I see? I saw an elephant. So I tell about each night going to bed, I would see a figure on my wall of a different kind of animal. So I started saying a chant, my favorite chant, and I watched the animal until I fell asleep. So it has a point that goes with it. And then I find out after that all the shadows on the wall were animals that, well, I can't tell you the rest because you might not want to buy the book. Because the books are on sale at Charles Wright Museum.
Okay. Excellent.
And, Charles Wright Museum and at my church, Hartford Memorial Baptist Church. They are on sale there. If you don't see them, ask for them.
Okay.
Oftentimes they don't put but one book out. And sometimes they have books behind the counter. Yeah.
Excellent. Will you read something from us from My Daddy Taught Me to Read?
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, my daddy would come downstairs, and my mother died young. When I was young, 9 years old. So when he was teaching me to read, because I was in the third grade, when I learned to read. And I tell kids that, when I got home, I rushed through the door, very excited with the note in my hand. I could not wait to give Daddy the note. Daddy, what does this note say? I said, I cannot read it, and I need help. I sit in class and I cry because cannot read those words. I can't figure out what sounds sound like, the letters. My daddy said, I will help you. He picked up a tattered and torn book. He put his arms around me and he said, what are these two words? And he asked me what the words were. And then I knew the words. I don't know what the other words are, Daddy. Daddy told me, look at the pictures, he said. That'll tell you what the word is. And I said the word, go, Sally. I knew the words was Sally because I looked at the picture. Oh, Daddy, I said, thank you. I read and read and read. Learning to read was so much fun. And then Daddy would take the stove and he would put the iron stick in the stove to make the fire burn. And then he said, Daddy kept helping me read. He said, what's this letter? What's this word? What does it say? Sound it out. Now say the word. Daddy and I worked hard. After a while, he said, today is Monday. I will see you the same time tomorrow. So he helped me every day of the week, but Saturday and Sunday. I don't know where he went Saturday and Sunday, but he dressed up in a suit. His best suit and his best shoes. I said, Daddy, where you going? Oh, girl, going back in the room. That's what he would say. You know what? It was hard for me to concentrate in school for the next day. I kept thinking about the warm, cozy basement and Daddy helping me with my reading. When I got home, we did the same thing. We looked at new words, harder words, and I tried to be my best, do my best for my daddy. Daddy listened to me saying the words. He had a certain look that made me try harder and harder to read. The harder I tried, the more Daddy told me, good job.
Wow, that's amazing, Mary.
And that's how, the kids say, well, how your daddy teach you to read if he couldn't read? He would say, awesome, good job. Gal, you're doing real good. Keep on trying. Don't ever give up. So he gave me encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
And he tell me, look at that. What letter is that? Put that together. He told me, sound that word out. Sound that word out. I can hear his voice right now. Mm-hmm. Sound that word out. Don't give up, And so that was the way he taught me to read. He used encouragement. And then he used to pat me on the back.
That is wonderful, Mary. I have friends that are teachers, and often I think of you, and I know we've had conversations where I've shared with you, I said, oh, it's a struggle being a parent and, trying to make sure that you're your teacher's partner and that you support your kids, you support the teacher. But I hear nightmare stories, Mary. And at the end of the day, it's still very simple. Children are struggling. Children want to learn. Teachers get thrown into situations, just like you said earlier. You were put in a classroom with all these special ed kids, and you were like, I don't have any training for this. You want me to do what? And yet you found a way. Talk to us a little bit about, because I hear you as a storyteller, but you're a teacher, because every time I sit and talk with you, Mary, I learn something new. For teachers that are struggling, who feel like the profession is no longer for them, or feel like, these kids don't want to learn, what wisdom would you give them?
Well, first of all, when the children come in, you have to establish relationships with them. Mm-hmm. When you tell them, I like the way you do it, you have to encourage them and say their names for sure, and just talk to each one of them. Now, that's a problem. When we had Zoom and the kids, it was a little difficult, but you work through your difficulties. They had boards, whiteboards, and all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So they had to use those whiteboards to relate to their students with certain pictures and activities. Like I was an administrator, and these kids were just terrible. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't sit down. They wanted to tap each other. And I start this poem, starting right now. And they said, what's she doing? I promised myself. And I said, you can say it too. And I have them say, and these were 7th and 8th graders. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, I got to do something because I need to work. So I said this poem, and I said to, and it's a poem by Garrett Townsend. Mm-hmm. Starting right now, I promise myself that all through my life, I will work very hard and overcome all the strife. There are plenty of things that may get in my way, but no matter how hard, here's what I say, whether over, under, around, and through. But the thing was, it's a long poem. Mm-hmm. And I taught kindergarten through the 9th grade that poem. And it tells about having goals. And then when you start in the morning, you must, when you're a teacher, educator, administrator, whatever, working with kids, you ask them, what are your goals? What you come here today for? Mm-hmm. You let them talk to you. And if they, and anybody who's acting good, you have to encourage the good behavior, not the bad.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly reinforce negative behavior. That's what you'll get. So you have to constantly reinforce good behavior. And I always had my rules up when I was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Sit quietly, what you're supposed to do, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the behavior I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw a person, I had the names up on this board, and I check them off when I saw them doing things that show good behavior. So you have to encourage positive behavior. And if you don't, you'll get negative behavior. If you encourage negative, you sit all day saying, stop that, don't do that, get up, don't come, I don't like that, stop it. If you do that, that's what you get. But if you encourage positive behavior, you'll get, if you keep on working on it, don't give up. That's the one thing that's important. Don't give up.
And that is very important.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my last question to you, Mary. So as a child of a father who could not read, I think it's amazing that you became a teacher and wanted to educate. You became an author. You became a phenomenal storyteller. For anyone who's questioning whether or not they need to write that book, what would you say to them?
Well, what I always tell people when they ask me, I'm sure they ask you that too, because you read.
Mm-hmm.
I say, get a book out and start journaling.
Mm-hmm.
Start writing down your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It might not make sense. Just keep writing. And then sometimes you can assign a time to write. Keep writing.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden one day it comes all together. And I do a lot of meditating.
Mm-hmm.
I do, like with kids too, I meant to say, I deep breathe. I had some students 2 weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, I went in and I started doing deep breathing exercise. When you do deep breathing, when you meditate, it focuses your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's how I wrote my third book. I was just laying and thinking of my experiences. And all of a sudden it came to me. And I said, oh, that worked. Let me do that again. So I lay there meditating and put some soft music on. I'll go to YouTube meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And I would meditate on my thoughts and ideas. Then I write them down. And I had a book. I would have never thought, and I'm sure you agree, that I would have even written a book, a children's book, nor even written 5 books.
Yes.
I just never, that's not, my goal wasn't to write a book. It was just to tell a story and be successful at it.
And I think you've done that, Mary.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. What did I get today in my class?
Mary, where can we find your books? Do you have anything that you're working on now that you want to share with us, or any workshops coming up?
Oh, I'll be at Noel night.
Okay.
3rd of December at Charles Wright Museum.
Okay.
And then I'll be on Friday for Friday Storytelling with the Detroit Association of Black Storytellers. I'll be telling 2 stories, and story of Ogaluso and the Cowtail Switch.
Okay.
And also the story of the Native American. This is Native American Month. So I tell a story, a Native American story.
Okay.
And I'll be on, you just go to YouTube and put Detroit Association of Black Storytellers. And once you read that, then the YouTube will take you right to the storytelling. There are many stories, but look at mine. Because
Mary Johnson Grant.
Yes, and Amy will be on there too.
Okay.
2 people telling a story along with Pamela as an MC. And then also I got so much, I don't mean to brag.
That's a good thing. That's a blessing.
God has blessed me, because I bought my calendar, because December the 10th, I got a storytelling event, and November 26th, I'll be at Pace Elementary School.
Okay.
And that's a Saturday from 12 to 6.
And where is Pace?
It's on Southfield Road, and I can't think of the street, but it's right past. It's before you get to 9 Mile. Have you heard?
Yes.
Pace?
Yes, I have. It's if you're going north on Southfield Road, it's on your left-hand side.
Okay. Right when you come down from Detroit. I'll be there from 12 to 6. Okay. And then let's see. There's just a lot going on.
How can we reach you, Mary, if we want to come and hear you speak, or we would like to book you?
So you just write on www.storiesbymjgrant, GRANT.com. And my email is the same, Mary Grant 1915 at gmail.com. And also on Facebook, Mary Grant. Just look it up on Facebook, Mary Grant. I got 2 pages. I'm trying to keep them up, but
it's hard. I know. Now tell us about how we can purchase your books. You said you can purchase them at the Charles H. Wright Museum, which is the Museum of African American History in the city of Detroit, Michigan, and at Hartford Memorial Baptist Church, which is also in Detroit.
Right. Or on Amazon.
Okay.
And I'd rather you buy them from me. So email me and I'll send them to you.
Give us that email address again and your website.
My website is Stories by MJ Grant, GRANT.com. And then my email address is Mary Grant 1915 at gmail.com.
Thank you, Mary, for being on the Kim B. Davis Show. We so appreciate you being here. And we hope that you will come back again and share with us when you have another new book or another workshop or something coming up so that we can share it and we can continue to talk about it, because this is an important topic.
And I thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It's exciting. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have your own show. So you keep up the good work, because I looked over some of your because you have your past shows.
Yes.
Really good job.
Thank you very much. How long
have you been on?
I have been on since the pandemic started. I started a week after the pandemic. It was interesting because I had gone to a free recording session and the pandemic started that Monday. I went on that Saturday. Everything shut down. I couldn't get my video. It just so happened that I had recorded everything on my phone. So I was able to save that. And people were telling me, Kim, just do it at home, because I thought I wasn't going to be able to do it. And just as you said, God gave me a mission and a purpose, and this is part of it. Talking about books, I'm still writing, working on some things, and wanted to make sure that I'm able to amplify voices like yours, because you are people that have taught me and instructed me, and I've been able to sit at your feet and watch you do your craft. And let me tell you, Mary, when I sit and watch you, I'm like, I'm not opening my mouth. I'm just gonna let Mary do it. You tell a story like nobody's business. Come on now.
Oh, I needed that.
You do, Mary. You do. You just told us. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Anybody who comes to Noel night and you watch this video, I'll give you 10% off. That's December the 3rd at Charles Wright Museum. So say I saw you on the Kim Davis Show. So make sure you check me out at Charles Wright Museum.
Excellent.
Good job.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you guys for tuning into the Kim B. Davis Show. You know, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, everywhere on social media. You can see this show at youtube.com/Kimberly Batchelor Davis, and Batchelor is spelled BATCHELOR. You can hear this show on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, and Wisdom. You can learn more about me as an author at kimbdavis.com. Thank you again for tuning in. I hope you'll join us on our next episode. And as always, remember, be magnificent.